Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Legendary Aspects. Today, we're going to be going over the legendary aspect that is known as of Slaughter. The of Slaughter aspect is a rather interesting one that it's kind of grown on me. Like it really has kind of grown on me, and I don't know why exactly I feel this way, but it's one of those aspects that for some reason or another it just doesn't seem to be very good until you really think about it, and then once you start thinking about it, you realize it's actually a lot better than it seems. And I'll kind of get to the point of what I'm talking about instead of just beating around the bush. So you look at it, and the first thing you think is, okay, well, the 20% movement speed is given to me, but I lose it if I take any damage, which makes it useless, right? Because you're like, okay, well, I'm always going to be taking damage, so it's always going to be inactive, right? But the thing is that the majority of the majority of a dungeon is literally just you running, right? You're a lot of the times you backtrack, you run in between groups of monsters. There's not always like one monster pack right next to another monster pack, and so you spend a little bit of time running between packs. Well, that means that it's pretty much always active. After you complete a battle, it's only 2.5 seconds until it reactivates, and then once you get into the battle, it doesn't deactivate until you actually take damage, which means that it will be active pretty much all the time, which is certainly not terrible. Another thing about this aspect, which makes it pretty interesting, is something that I've actually devised, and it's called the Town Slippers. Or actually, if you're better, if you want to do even better, you find an amulet that has a perfect movement speed. The better the movement speed, the better the town slippers, so to speak. And what you do is you take this aspect and you actually throw it on a perfect amulet that has 26.2% movement speed. You then have an amulet that provides you with 46.2% movement speed while in town. You obviously don't wear it when you're not in town. It doesn't have to be a special amulet. It doesn't have to have good stats on it. The only thing it needs is 26.2% movement speed, and imbue this aspect onto it. And then you get some pretty crazy movement speed. You could also put it on a pair of boots. Either way, doesn't matter. And you can have a pair of town slippers for use whenever you want to use them. The really cool thing is to get a really nice 26.2% movement speed pair of boots, along with a 26.2% movement speed amulet. Put this aspect on one of the two and keep them in your inventory for when you go to town. And then whenever you're in town, you just equip your town slippers and your town amulet, and you get some pretty crazy movement speed bonuses. I've actually really kind of like this one. I think being able to move around 20% faster for basically for free is really cool. And I know that it doesn't really work surprisingly well with other effects. Like, for instance, you might be using Penitent Greaves or you might be using Asus Heirloom. And it doesn't really work very well with even the vampiric powers. Like, Ravenous gives you a increase in the percentage of your attack speed that you get for your movement speed. But the problem is that as soon as you get hit, you lose the 20% movement speed from the aspect. And so that no longer affects Ravenous when you're actually in combat. However, when you're in combat, you'll get the 15% bonus from Moonrise once you complete the 5 attacks. So, yeah. I mean, boot aspect is not really all that important anyway. There are some really good boot aspects, don't get me wrong. There are some really nice ones. But for the most part, it just kind of seems like the boot aspect is really one of the least important ones on the character. And it's just not really all that amazing in terms of what it can do. I think that's pretty much it for this one. If you want to get your hands on it, let me pull up a Diablo gambling tool here, and I can show you exactly what to gamble. Now, because it is on boots, it's probably going to be on boots. But if we type in Slaughter, you notice it says boots, but it also says boots on Druid specifically. And the reason is because Druids have the least number of competing aspect slots on the character. It's just kind of weird how this works, is that basically the more aspects you have on a character, the less likely it is for you to get the one that you're looking for, because there's more for it to roll through. The Necromancer's the worst on this because he has so many aspect slots or aspects for his boots. All the rest of the characters are actually pretty equal, and the druid is actually the worst out of the lot for the least number of aspect slots, which makes him the best in terms of gambling the boots. This aspect, I think, can be placed on, yeah, just boots and amulet. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when we're just talking about the aspect of slaughter. And get out there and make yourself some town slippers, and don't forget, keep watching.